Welcome to Unlocking Universal, your key to Universal Orlando. I'm Holly, an OG Universal fan, Orlando local, and professional destination specialist. I've spent years helping people just like you plan their most epic vacations, and now I'm coming straight to your earballs. Because you've got big memories to make, I'm here to help you make the most of every moment. Say hello to your unfair advantage. Your time is valuable. I don't do small talk. Let's jump in. So what the heck is a photo validation entry system anyway? Before we talk about what it actually is, let's talk about why we need it at all. Well, the reason we need some kind of an entry system is because tickets, unfortunately, are non-transferable. That means no sharesies. Parks need to have a way to tie a guest to a ticket. So that brings us to the what it is part. The photo validation system uses state-of-the-art technology to link you with your ticket and verify your admission going forward. What it is not. There are three big misconceptions with the photo validation system. So there are photograph validating systems or photograph systems where places will actually take your picture. Well, this is not one of them. Photo sensors take 3D measurements of your face and use it to create a photo template. It's heat-based. We can't see it with the naked eye, but infrared sensors match you to your admission. It's kind of like the technology that you have if you have an iPhone, and Microsoft uses it as well. Secondly, template data is not stored indefinitely. As a matter of fact, it's deleted within 6 months of capture. And the third thing that I think causes some confusion is that it is not mandatory. You can absolutely opt out of it, and you can either choose to go back to the old fingerprint scan, because they still do that, or you can choose to show a photo ID every time. By the way, speaking of ID, this is a pro tip. Adults or anyone, if you have an official ID, you should always carry it with you in the parks. Now, I am a very light packer when it comes to going into the parks. I take as little with me as possible, but regardless of what you take into the parks, take your ID for a couple of reasons. One, it just makes sense. It's just smart. I mean, obviously, if you want to buy an alcoholic beverage, you're going to need to have your ID, but also in the little teeny tiny small print on your ticket, there's a little blurb there that says that they can actually ask you for ID at any point. Will they? No. But, technology sometimes doesn't work the way it should. I know that's just, who knew? Technology always does its job, right? Well, if it doesn't, it's always great to have your ID, then have to run back to the hotel and get it. Just carry your ID with you. So what is the admission process once you approach the gates? So the new entry process it's very similar to using the fingerprint sensors. You walk up to the turnstile, which, by the way, the turnstiles aren't really turnstiles anymore. If you get to where you pass through and look up, there are sensors above you now. Universal has switched to these electronic counting mechanisms. And you don't have to force through a turnstile anymore. But if you walk up to that area, the team member is going to scan your ticket, and it's going to display a feed. It's just a live feed. They don't capture it. They don't keep it for anything. It's just basically so you can see where you are in the frame. And if they need to talk someone through it, they can kind of show them. So you're going to position yourself within the blue frame. You will see a blue frame on the large screen. Then the camera is going to take your photo template, or make your photo template, I should say, using the infrared data. And once that's validated, a green light will appear, and the screen will show a great big green check mark, and boom, it is Butterbeer time. So the very first time that you do this, they're capturing it. So you go out, you want to go into another park, they're going to use that template, and they're matching you to that template. So that's pretty cool. And one thing that's really kind of neat is, like, if you have a hat on or glasses or whatever, it doesn't seem to screw it up. So it uses the different metrics and data points to make sure it's you, and it's pretty smart. It's kind of scary smart. No, it's not scary. I really like it. But what has me really excited is that Universal just announced the expansion of photo validation into the parks. So yeah. Not only will you be able to use it now to actually enter the parks, but you're going to be able to use it to join the express lines. Well, what is this a big deal? What's the big deal? So right now, if you have Express Pass, you have either purchased it a la carte, or you're staying at one of the Universal Orlando Resort hotels that offer it as a complimentary perk, and that's going to be Lowe's Royal Pacific, Hard Rock Hotel, or Portofino Bay. So you're either going to have that a la carte ticket that you've had printed out, you're going to have your park ticket, or instead of the a la carte ticket, you're going to have your room card for the hotel. So you have to have at least two things, right? It can be confusing and frustrating. We can organize it. I recommend having a lanyard and you face your admission ticket out one side and put either your room key or your express pass facing out the other side so you can flip it back and forth. No problem, right? But clarity and simplicity is always best. Am I right? I definitely think so. So there'll be no more shuffling of tickets, express passes, room cards. If you're traveling with a group or you have kids, generally we don't want kids to have control of those things because if they get lost, then we got to go over to guest services. And yes, they can be replaced and everything, but it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So if we can cut out that possibility, what's not to love? So what do we need to do as a guest visiting Universal Orlando to make this work best for us? And all we need to do is to link our tickets or our annual pass or seasonal pass, if we are a pass holder, into our Universal account wallet, which is in the app. You can also access your wallet through the website as well. And even before all of this coolness with the photo validation, I've always recommended that guests link their tickets into the app once they pick them up. Because if you lose them, it's a lot easier if you have to visit guest services that way. Because the less we have to worry about, the better. And get this one, I know, this is where the nerdy comes in. This is so exciting to me. For the very first time ever, we're going to be able to link our room keys in our wallets. Now, it doesn't sound like a big deal at all, right? But here's the thing. It is a big deal because up until this point, your hotel stay, for all intents and purposes, anything that's associated with your hotel stay, doesn't go in the app. Now, if you are a frequent Disney visitor, that is the opposite because everything is right in your My Disney Experience app, right? Well, with Universal, it was just tickets, but not your hotel stay. Why? Well, because Universal doesn't own their hotels. They are operated by Lowe's Hotels. They are fantastic. But what this means is that there are two separate systems, and the two systems did not communicate. So it looks like we might be getting a little bit closer to those systems communicating, which from the backside of everything, being a travel professional, that is super exciting for me. But what it means for everyone else that's not as nerdy as me is that if you can scan in your room card and you're staying at Portofino Bay, Hard Rock, Royal Pacific, so you'll be able to have that stored in there for use to access the express lines. Now, granted, once the photo validation is completely up and running, we won't need to have to do that, but the option of it being there and not have to worry about, pulling that card out and possibly losing it and all that, and everyone in your party has to have one, it can be a lot. This is fantastic. But not only for Express Pass guests, this is going to be a wonderful feature for everyone staying on site because you'll be able to show that for your early park admission. Again, not having to screw around with the cards in and out of the back pockets or backpacks and wallets and all that. This is a step into the seamless entry realm, and I am here for it. Now, should you still carry all that stuff, your tickets, your a la carte express passes or your room keys and all that? Oh, yes, absolutely. Carry it all, but not having to get it out. It's just like I can hear the birds are singing and the sun is shining. It's awesome. Oh, so, well, what are some other reasons that I think it's awesome? I think it's awesome. I do think it's awesome. When you first enter the park for the first time, say you're a guest arriving, you're going to stay for several days, you pick up your tickets, you put them into your wallet, your digital wallet, you arrive at the park for the very first time. When you do that initial photo validation setup, it's really going to be no different than if you were going to do the scanning of your finger. But after that, when you're just walking up and the photo validation is matching you, it's going to be much quicker. So what this means overall is that the lines are going to move faster. So not only are the entry lines going to move faster, but as this expands into the parks more and more, that means those lines are going to move faster too. I think we're going to end up seeing it at the Hogwarts Express on both sides. And not only that, you're not going to have to worry about which finger did I scan. If you know, right? Oh my goodness, which finger did I use? And oh, it's even worse with kids because they never know. And if you even remember, sometimes they just don't scan right. I have a very, very good friend who can never get through the entry points with her finger scan. They just don't work. I think it's because she was a spy. I don't know. And that's a story for another day. But anyway, it just doesn't work all the time. So this is a much more seamless way to do things, and it's just less to worry with. I think we're going to see this expand further as Epic Universe opens as well, which comes with a few little rumors. You may or may not have heard them, and they may or may not be anything as we come into the future, but the point is the possibilities are almost limitless. For example, there has been a rumor out there floating that at some point, now granted, I wouldn't imagine it to happen anytime in the near future after Epic Universe opens. When you enter Epic Universe, you enter into Celestial Park. But the rumor is that there may be an option for that world, that one world out of the 5, to be available for guests without tickets, but maybe after a certain point of the day or on slower days or whatnot. Basically because there's no city walk. There's really not a whole lot for people to do over there. But with this technology, Universal would have the ability to allow unticketed guests in so that they could just enjoy the atmosphere and the restaurants and just kind of hang out while they kept them separate from the ticketed guests who could access the attractions. Without photo validation, you could see oh my goodness, what a mess it would be for people being able to come in, go to Celestial Park, but not go into the other worlds. Like if the park is open late and there are people that are actually ticketed for that day, keeping people where they need to be and not where they're not supposed to be could be a real nightmare. But this is just going to make everything flow, So will that happen? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it could. Another thing to consider is that Epic Universe is located very, very close to the Orange County Convention Center. And some of the talk around that has been that they may want to take advantage of the conventions that happen there. And there are some very, very large conventions that happen there every year. What happens sometimes, maybe they'll have a ticket that is, valid after a certain point in the day. So it's only like a partial day ticket. Or maybe larger groups that come in want to rent a world. Well, with photo validation, it makes it possible and relatively easy for Universal to be able to keep the rest of the park open and only have certain parts of it be rented out for special events instead of either completely open to the general public or completely closed except for the special event. Because validation would keep the people in that are supposed to be in, out that are supposed to be out, into the worlds that they're supposed to be into, and nowhere else. I think it's amazing. Do you have thoughts about photo validation? Have you heard about it? Do you think it's weird? Do you think it's like a Big Brother thing? You know what I think about it. Now I want to hear what you think about it. So let me know. You can find me on Instagram and on YouTube at unlocking_. And we have a good time. Come on over. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this week. But if you enjoyed today's podcast, I would love it if you'd follow so we can hang out again. And if you share it to someone else, I promise that your roller coaster hair will be effortlessly fabulous. Pinky swear. See you next time. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you're thinking about your first or next Universal vacation, I'd be honored to be your planning resource of choice. You can email me at holly@themagicforless.com, or you can hit the link in the show notes below to get this party started. Oh, and my service at no cost to you. Now get out of here and go do something nice for somebody.